Okay, we are officially here for Rock the Void, February 2026. I am so excited for this. This is one of my favorite free classes to teach. I teach a free class every couple of weeks. I try to do, when I say every couple of weeks, I mean like two a quarter, because I know that especially if you're on a manifestation journey, it can be really tricky. And I want to make sure that I'm making myself as available as possible to give you all the tools that I wish I had and really to just say all the things that I wish someone had said to me. I was reflecting on my work earlier, and one of the things that came to me so strongly that I've held on to is just really wanting to say the thing that I wish someone had said to me. So that is my intention for everything that I do, for every podcast, for every YouTube video, for every email, and for every free event that I put on is just that I'm saying the thing that I wish someone had said to me. And so if you have found your way into this class, welcome. I'm so grateful that you're here, and also know that you are in for a really, really thorough, deep, transformative experience. I leave it all on the floor. I do not hold back in these free sessions because, again, I just know how powerful this information can be. And I want to make sure that as many people have it as possible. And then, of course, if anyone wants to go deeper, if anyone wants to work with me closely, then I will talk a little bit about that at the end. But for now, I want you to just drop in and really focus on receiving everything that you hoped you would receive when you signed up for this class. And I promise that you will get what you came for. That is my commitment to you. So, that is my intention. What is your intention? Take a moment. I'm actually going to set a timer on my phone for 1 minute. And I want you to really just sit and ask yourself, like, why am I here? What am I hoping to get out of this? Why did I click on this replay? Why did I show up to this Zoom? And sometimes it can help to frame it in terms of like, what is my number one question? So whenever I am going into a coaching program, whether it is a free program or it's a program that I've purchased, I will make a list of questions that I want to get answered. And it's kind of just whatever question comes to mind. Like, why did I sign up for this? Well, I'm wondering about this, and I'm wondering about this, and I'm wondering about this. And sometimes I'll have a list of like 20 questions. And then as I go through the program, I will notice as I'm getting those questions answered. And if I'm not getting those questions answered, then I will make sure that I reach out and ask. But I take those questions very seriously. And that's part of what helps me make sure that I'm getting what I came for in every experience. So even though you didn't invest money in this, this is an investment of your time. You could be doing anything, but you're spending your time on this, whether it's replay or whether you're here live with me, you're focused on this and your attention is an investment. So I want to make sure that you're getting an ROI, you're getting a return from your investment. And one of the ways that you're going to be able to do that is to actually take some time before we even do anything else and just decide why you're here, decide what you came here for. And then what we will do together is we will get you what you came for. Okay. So with that being said, if you have a notebook, you're welcome to do this in your notes. If you have like the notes app on your phone or on like your computer and you're not going to get distracted, you're welcome to do it there. But just take a minute, reflect, and write down a couple of questions or even just one big question that you want to have answered through this experience. And of course, if you're here live and we don't get to your questions, then we can do some coaching on it after we get through the slides. And so I will 100% make sure that your question gets answered. But let me stop talking and let me put a 1 minute timer on my phone, and I will let you know when it is time to come back. All right, so feel free to wrap up that thought. If you're here live and you would like to put your question or your intention in the chat, that would be amazing. And I can keep that in mind as we're going throughout the day and through tomorrow. But whether you're live or on the replay, it's just important that you have set a sense of direction, like you programmed a destination into your GPS. And now, as I said, the rest of this experience is just getting you from where you are now to where you want to go. And I believe that we will do that. Okay, so over the course of this experience, we are going to cover a couple of very specific things. So, the first thing that we're going to do is we are just going to talk about what to do while you're waiting for your manifestation. If you heard me mention this class or this experience on social media, then usually the way that I describe it is I have a free 2 day class on what to do while you're waiting for your manifestation. That is true broadly, but I have made it a little bit more thorough and nuanced so that you can really get like something deep that you can take with you. But we're just going to introduce the topic and make sure that we are all very clear on a basic understanding of what to do while you're waiting for your manifestation. And then we're going to take it deeper by going into 4 mindsets that kill manifestation journeys. And of course, I'm going to talk to you about how to shift those mindsets. So I'm not a coach who just points out problems, but I will also offer solutions. And the reason that I'm teaching this in this class is because the void is a period where your mind can really start to spin out. I have anxiety. I know a lot of people drawn to my work have some form of anxiety or mental health issue. And I know how much the mind can really play tricks on us during a manifestation journey. So, we're just going to talk about that and talk about how you can get your mind on your side and really work with your mind rather than having your mind work against you. So, we'll talk about that. Then, we're going to talk about how to build momentum and move your manifestation forward without obsessing and micromanaging and also without burning out. This is a nuance that a lot of people don't really think about, but oftentimes we either believe that we have to be obsessing over our manifestation and super hands on and putting a ton of pressure, or we believe that it's just going to wipe us out entirely and we have no energy and we have nothing left in the tank. But I want to teach you how to really work with your manifestation in a sustainable way so that you can actually make it to the finish line. And then finally, I am going to leave you with a daily practice, just takes 15 minutes a day. And if you do this practice every single day, you will see your manifestations move forward like crazy, especially given everything else that we've covered over the past 2 days. And as you keep yourself accountable to this practice, you are going to see your manifestations come to fruition. I have had people tell me, they come back and they say, Samara, I have been doing the Rock the Void journaling. I've been doing that practice every single day. And because of that, these are all the results I'm getting in my life. These are all the ways that my relationships are shifting. These are all the ways that my perspective is shifting. These are all the ways that my career is shifting, and they're telling me their results. And so I know that this daily practice really works, not to mention the fact that it is also the thing that I do that keeps me moving my manifestations forward. And I would never offer you something that I have not already done myself, many, many, many times over. So this is well tested. It will work for you, but you have to be willing to commit to it. And I will talk more about that later. And of course, I will also be sharing some next steps that you can take if you do want me to be your mentor, if you want me to walk with you on your journey. I have a really beautiful, exciting option for anyone who does want that next layer of support beyond just these 2 days. So you're in for a treat. Buckle up and let's keep going. So for today, we are just going to talk about what's here in black. We'll talk about what to do while you're waiting for your manifestations. And we'll also talk about the 4 mindsets that kill manifestation journeys and how to shift them. So today is kind of like a mindset day. And then tomorrow is going to be more of like an action day and a day of strategy and more practical steps. So tomorrow we'll talk about the other things, but today I just want to get your mind right and I want to help you be in the headspace that you need to be in so that taking the action will actually feel good and be sustainable versus trying to take the action without being aligned mentally. So that's why we're starting with the mindset first. But before we start teaching, I am going to be doing a giveaway. So I'm giving away a free 30-minute coaching call to one person who has participated in Rock the Void. And so I'm going to be contacting the winners via email on Friday. And in order to get entries into the giveaway, you need to DM me on Instagram. So at Samara Kasai, if you don't have Instagram or if you can't DM me on there for some reason, you can also email me. You can reply to any emails that you've gotten from me and just send me your takeaway from today. What is something that you learned? What is something that you're going to be taking with you? Anything that stood out to you, like that really helps me because as I do this class more and more, I refine it based on what's the most profound for people. And so if you DM me your takeaways, if you send them in writing versus a voice note, just because I want to be able to quickly look and see like, okay, that person entered the giveaway and I don't want to like open up every single voice note that I get. So if you can take a minute, write out your takeaways, DM me, and you will be entered to win your free coaching call. And I know we have a lot of people joining on replay, so you have until Friday, or actually, yeah, let's say this. You have until Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and at that time I will close the giveaway and I will announce the winner. Okay, so without further ado, what is the void? We are here to rock the void. So what is the void? The void is the hardest part of manifestation. The void, as you've seen me say on social media, as you've probably heard me reference in the past, that is the point where you have set your intention, but your manifestation hasn't come and you're just in the middle. You are in the messy middle. And this is where most people give up. A lot of people can set an intention. We all did it collectively a month ago, right? But not everyone can see it through to the finish line. And if you're here, I know that you want to see it through to the finish line. And so that is why I am here to help you rock the void, because the void is what makes the difference between all the many, 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 many millions of people who set their resolutions and the tiny fraction of them who will actually have the goals, have what they set out to create by the end of the year. And I will say there's really no shade on that. Like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with people who don't achieve their goals. I don't achieve all of my goals, especially not in the time frame that I think I will. But doing this work is what helps me know that whenever I set a goal, I will achieve it, no matter how long it takes and no matter what the journey looks like, because I am committed to staying in the void and being present in the void and showing up in the void in such a way that it doesn't like derail me. And so that is actually really why I have been able to manifest most of the things in my life, not because everything always happens automatically, but because I do this work. And so that's why this work really matters. And that's why I'm making this a free experience, because I want this work to be accessible and available to every single person. And I want you to know that you have the tools to bring your manifestations to life. So again, no judgment on people who don't achieve their goals. But what I want to empower you to do is know that you can achieve your goals. And in doing so, you can also be an example for other people who might be struggling to achieve their goals. And that's how we actually create a more fulfilled, more alive, just like better planet, you know? Like that's how we help shift the tide and help people really improve their quality of life is by going first, doing the work, and then being an example to inspire other people to do the work as well. Did not expect to say that, but that just really came through me, and I hope that that is something that you will take with you as well as you're going on this journey. Okay, so as I said, you've set your intention, but the manifestation hasn't come yet. Welcome to the void. We are here to rock the void, and by rocking the void, you will make it to the part where your manifestation comes to fruition. You will make it across the finish line. So I want you to really consider that the only reason a manifestation fails is because you give up. You stop trying, you stop getting creative, you stop, working with it. And again, everything I'm saying in this class, everything that I'll be teaching over the next 2 days is going to be what you need in order to cross the finish line, in order to bring your manifestation to life. And really, what I want you to have in your head is that if you can master the void, you can master manifestation. The void is the hardest part. Anyone can set an intention. Not everyone is going to receive their manifestations, and the reason is in the void. And so that's why we're here. Okay, so as I promised, we will just kick it off by talking about what to do while you're waiting for your manifestation? So while you're waiting, this is a question that I get asked as a manifestation coach. I set my intention, now what? Like what am I supposed to do all year long or all week long or all month long or however much time you've given yourself to focus on this manifestation? Like what do I do until it happens? This is understandable, but it is not helpful. The way that you're thinking about it in and of itself is something that you have the opportunity to shift. Because the truth is, you're never waiting for your manifestation. Waiting is a very passive energy, and waiting sometimes comes from a place of not feeling connected to your power, especially in a situation like manifestation. So imagine that you called the bank or the doctor's office or just like a busy office setting or something like that. You gave them a call and then you're on hold. They had to put you on a hold. And as you're on hold with them, are you holding the phone up to your face, engaged, or did you? What I do is I put them on speakerphone and I go live my life until they're ready. Or sometimes I'll even do the thing if they have the option of like, do you want us to call you when it's your turn in line? I'm always like, yes, call me when it's my turn. I am getting off this phone call so I can live my life. I'm not engaging with those people because I'm on hold. And a lot of the times people see manifestation as I set the intention and then the universe puts me on hold and then I'm waiting for the universe to pick up my phone call. And I say this because this is also how I was before I really understood this work. And so if you've been here, if you've been in this place, know that you get to have compassion for yourself. You get to be grateful for the fact that you showed up here today and the fact that you are open to seeing it differently. And you even get to forgive yourself if you're like, oh, I've been doing that. And like, if you have any judgment come up, like just be willing to forgive yourself. This happens to everyone. And you are here and you're going to do things differently from now on because you're learning new information. So, with that being said, that idea that you're on hold with the universe is the opposite of the energy that we need to be in. And so, again, not to judge yourself, but just to be aware if you have been feeling like the universe has you on hold, just notice it. And then we'll talk over these next several days about like what to do instead. So, solutions are coming. And so, what you actually want to be doing is build momentum with your manifestations. So, you do have a role to play, you have a job to do. In my program, Moody and Magnetic, I call it really being in a co creative partnership with the universe. So, the universe plays its part in the co creation, and you play your part in the co creation. And what you are doing is you are moving energy. And I will talk more about what this means and how to do it. But if you think about like you're pulling energy out of your old life and pouring it into your new life. And again, this will make more sense in the future, but I'm just kind of planting the seed now. You are pulling energy out of your old life and pouring it into your new life. And that is your role throughout the manifestation process. And that is how you build momentum and keep things moving forward. So it's very active. It requires you to be present, it requires you to be focused. And a lot of people give up on manifestation because they just don't realize this, which is okay. But you're here, you're learning, you're going to be doing it differently. A lot of people just don't think that there is an important thing for them to be doing. Manifestation, when I was first learning about it, was taught as a 3-step process: set the intention, release, receive. And release feels passive, right? It feels like, okay, I'm just letting it go. But the issue with that, and I'm not even saying that releasing, quote unquote, is wrong conceptually, but what people don't understand is that releasing is way more nuanced than it immediately looks. And that's why we're going to be talking about the mindset that you need to be in order to really get to the place where you have created the space for your manifestation to come to fruition. So it's kind of like you're holding space for it. You are letting it go in the sense that you're not gripping it, you're not putting pressure, but you are cultivating an environment within you and around you that supports you in manifesting what it is that you want. And so, again, more to come on this, but I just kind of want to plant the seed and then we'll build. And so, I also want to have here that a lot of people just hustle frantically. And it's almost like, and this is something that I used to do, it's kind of like you get to the point where it snaps and you're worried that it's not working and you're frustrated and you're scared. And so you kind of try to take over for the universe and do everything. And then you just hustle and it gets really challenging and you start to burn out and then it just all feels really shitty. And so again, if you've been here, that's okay. You're in good company. I have lived there too. And these are the things that help me get out of that place. And so, with all of that in mind, let's go into the deeper things, the more nuanced things. What are the four mindsets that kill manifestation journeys? And the reason we're talking about this is because, as I said, releasing, letting go, surrender, that is a mental game. That's something that requires you to have your mind in the right place. And this is something that you do continually. So you get your mind right, and then life happens. Your mind goes back into an unhelpful place. You bring it back. And we'll be talking about this, but really, I want you to just be on the lookout for these four mindsets that I'm going to share with you. And if you notice yourself going to an unhelpful mindset, I'm going to talk to you about how to bring yourself back so that you can actually create the space energetically to receive the manifestation. And so, this is kind of like what releasing really is and what surrender, letting go really is. It's about working with your mind and getting your mind on your side rather than feeling like you're fighting against your mind. And so some of the things that come up notoriously when we are in the void. The first one is it's harder than it should be. And so if you're here, you've been through hard things or you've done hard things or both. Maybe you have accomplished something that not a lot of people have accomplished. I know based on who's here, maybe you have grown a really big online presence and maybe you have gone through challenging experiences in your life. And so it's a combination of like you have experienced hard things and you've just done hard things. And both of those things matter and both of those things are important. And along with the fact that you are familiar with hard things and you've been through hard things and you've even stepped up to the plate and challenged yourself to do things that are not easy for other people, but you've had a big goal and you've moved towards it, there's also this little piece which comes up because of the world we live in that says that manifestation should be easy and it should be effortless and it shouldn't be this hard. And so, even though we're not afraid of challenges and even though we feel very competent and very capable and we're very proud of what we've done and what we've overcome, when it comes to manifestation, it hasn't yet clicked that, like, oh, maybe manifestation involves challenge as well. And so, what happens is our brain starts to tell us that something has gone wrong if it gets hard. Our brain fights the difficulty of it. And manifestation is a skill. I've said this online a lot. I should probably be saying it more because it's so important, but manifestation is a skill. And as with any skill, there's a hard part before it gets easy. Like driving, I didn't pass my driving test the first time, right? It was hard. And then I had to practice, and I didn't even take it again for 3 years, which is more on me. But I had to go through a part where it was hard and then it became easy. And so if you're in a situation where you're manifesting and it's hard, consider that it's a skill. And I am getting way ahead of myself because I have slides on this, but for now, I'll just leave it at that. Your mind might be telling you that it's harder than it should be. And I just want to offer you that just because it's hard doesn't mean that something has gone wrong. And it also doesn't mean that it's going to be hard forever. Like it does compound, it does get easier. You do get used to it, but you need to be willing to go through that hard part before you have nailed and mastered the skills involved in manifestation. And so the second thing your mind might be telling you is it's taking too long. Why is it taking so long? Why isn't it here yet? And so you, me, everybody, we all have a time frame for how long we think our manifestation should take. Maybe you set some intentions a month ago in January and you believe that they should, show up by the end of the year. Maybe you set some intentions on the first of the month and you believe that they should show up by the end of the month. No matter what, whether it's based on the calendar, whether it's based on how long something took for other people, like it can be like, oh, well, it took them 3 years, so it'll probably take me 3 years. Whatever it is, we all have a time frame that we think is appropriate for our manifestation. But as the time frame gets closer, or as it even goes past that time frame, our mind freaks out and our mind starts to tell us it's taking too long. And the longer it takes, the harder it feels to keep the faith. And so that's kind of the place where people tend to live. And as we go through today and tomorrow, especially, oh no, we'll talk about this today. As we go through today, you will learn what to do instead and where else to take your mind, because it's not wrong to have a time frame. It's not wrong to say, I would like to manifest X thing by X date. Like I said, I wanted to have my YouTube channel monetized by the end of 2025. That didn't happen. So it's not like, oh, the time frame was wrong. I actually really believe in time frames, and I think we need to be honest with ourselves about our expectations. And I go really deep into that in my Moody and Magnetic program. There's a course in there called Manifestation for Sensitive Souls, where I literally teach people how to relate to the timing of their manifestations in a healthy way so that they don't use it against themselves. But for the sake of today, I just want to say manifestation, it happens on its own timing, but there's nothing wrong with you for having an expectation for how long something can take. And there are ways to use those expectations to support you. And there are also ways to use those expectations to beat yourself up. And there is an opportunity for you to see it differently and do it differently. And that's why you're here. So we'll be talking more about that. Your mind might also be telling you that it keeps almost happening. So what I mean by this is like you get inches away, or you get something that really looks like your manifestation is about to pan out, and then it just doesn't, you know? Um, I was talking to a client recently who she has a spiritual business, and she messaged me and she was like, oh my God, my launch is going to go so well. All these people told me that they're going to sign up as soon as I drop my program, as soon as I open the doors. She opens the doors, nobody signs up, right? Like we can have a moment where it really looks like it's all going to happen. It really looks like, oh my God, it's coming together, it's coming together. And then it just doesn't pan out. Maybe you meet someone, you fall in love, you think that's your person, and then something goes south and they're not your person anymore. Like those types of things, they can weigh on you, they can have an emotional impact. And I'm not saying that like there's anything wrong with you for being a human and for having feelings. What I'm saying is there is a way to relate to this in a healthy way that still allows you to create the life that you see for yourself and not feel like you're stuck in a place where you don't want to be and you can't get out of it, which is sometimes how it can feel when it feels like it's almost happening and then it never happens, and it almost happening and then it doesn't happen. And that cycle of like hope and disappointment and hope and disappointment, it can be an emotional roller coaster. And it's something that I am really here to help you relate to in a healthy way, because that's something that has been true for me in my life as well. So we will say more on that later. But to introduce the final mindset that we're going to be talking about today, your mind might also be telling you maybe it's not meant for me. And there, again, is a whole variety of ways that this could look. Maybe you have been working really hard on it, and when it doesn't happen, you take it personally and you make it mean that you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not disciplined enough, or whatever it might be. But you have this story that like there's something wrong with me and therefore I don't get to have what I want. And I speak from experience, right? These are all things that I have thought like there's something wrong with me and therefore I don't get to have what I want. And it's all about how we relate to setbacks, failures, disappointments, and the story we tell ourselves when things don't look like they're coming together. And again, this can be an emotional roller coaster. This is inner work. Like this is hard. As I said, it's hard and then it gets easier, but you have to be willing to go through the hard part. And what I just want to say now on this slide is that if your mind is telling you, maybe I don't get to have what I want, maybe I don't get to have the marriage that I want, maybe I don't get to have the business that I want, maybe I don't get to the place I want to be with my body and in my health. Like if your mind is saying, maybe I don't get to have it, or maybe it's not meant for me, I want you to just open up to the idea that it is meant for you. And as I talk to you over today and over tomorrow, you will start to feel that more and more. But all you need to do now is just, I'm willing to believe that I do get to have it. I'm willing to believe, even though it's hard, even though it's scary, even though it doesn't feel true right now, like I'm open to believing it. And if you open your heart, you will get there. You will get there, you will get there, you will get there. But open up now in this moment as you're listening, as you're watching, just open your heart and say, I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to believe something new, even if it feels foreign, even if it's unfamiliar. And as you get to that place of like willingness and openness, everything I say from this point forward, today and tomorrow, it's going to penetrate so much deeper. It's going to land for you in a way that you never thought possible. And that is how you're actually going to start to see things shift. But it starts with being open to believing something, even if it's something that has been very hard for you to believe in the past. And I think that spaces like this can be really magical because it is a space where we open up to something new, and where we open up to something that we've never experienced before. And so as we step into this experience, and as we continue to untangle these beliefs and do this mindset work, remember that as you open up to seeing new things or to thinking new things or believing new things, you will experience new things. Mm, okay. I'm also seeing, how can I adjust my mindset around systemic and cultural scarcity? Okay, Nika, if you want to put more in the chat, I will definitely address that. Because I think that's a powerful question, and I know many other people have it. So you're welcome to like elaborate in the chat, and then depending on how we do with time, we can also like unmute and talk more about it. But definitely put more in the chat because I want to address that. And for anyone on replay, the question was, how can I address my mindset around systemic and cultural scarcity? Which again, such an important question. And I know a lot of people have it. Okay, so we have just been through a lot. Let's take some deep breaths. We'll take 2 more. And the last one. So as I said, I'm not speaking to you from a high horse. I have thought these thoughts. I still think these thoughts from time to time. It's not about getting to the place where you never think them. It's about knowing what to do when they come up. So the thing about this journey, the thing about manifestation, no matter how it's portrayed, the truth is there will be obstacles, there will be challenges, it will get hard. And it's not about saying, I will never have these problems again. It's about saying more and more, I will know what to do when I get to these problems, and they will feel less and less like problems. And so this class, this experience is really just meant to equip you with the tools to navigate the journey. And the journey will start to feel easier, but it's because you have become stronger and you have become different. In the same way we're going to the gym, if I were to go in the gym and pick up a 50-pound dumbbell, it would be over for me, right? But if I worked my way up to it, maybe there is a version of me for whom that's a thing, that's easy. It's not because the 50-pound dumbbell got lighter, it's because I got stronger. And so the same is going to happen with you. And that's what's happened with me. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I got stronger. And so the aspects of this journey that used to feel hard, now they're manageable and now I can deal with them, even though I still experience the same doubts, fears, frustrations, confusions that everyone else experiences. But I relate to them differently and I navigate them differently. And that's why I get different results. And that's the same, that's going to be true for you too, I promise. Okay, I see your comment. All right. So I also have to say here, this is especially hard when you're used to being a high achiever. Manifestation for high achievers is so challenging. And again, I'm not speaking to you from a high horse. I have definitely been in this place, and I want to just make the connection very clear between manifesting and being a high achiever and why it's specifically challenging for us. So this is me as a little baby, 20-year-old. 1 year before I found manifestation. I spent most of my life as a high achiever, and I know that this is going to be different for different people. For me, it was academics. For you, you might have been a great athlete, or maybe you became a high achiever later in life and you started to really pop off and excel on social media or in your career. Or maybe you always felt like you had beautiful, great relationships, and that was like your thing where people were coming to you and asking you for relationship advice because you just really had a knack for it and you were so good. And so if you're here, really what I'm saying is in one area or another, at some point in your life, you have felt like I am really good at this. And you know, I'm better at this than most people. Like you have probably had the thought, like, I'm better at this than most people. And that is how it was for me in terms of academics. I always got excellent grades. I was always very good at school. And I was good at the things that seemed like they were hard for other people. And as that identity started to form and started to really take shape, manifestation was very hard because I believed I should have been good at it right away. I believed it should have come naturally to me. And for anyone who really resonates with this, I recommend the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. She is a psychologist out of Stanford, and her research really focuses on this idea of what happens when you believe you're naturally good at things. And so I'm not gonna, go into the whole book, but I do think anyone who's on this call or on the replay, definitely read the book, get the audio book. Like she's a great person to just follow and be aware of. But this idea of it should come naturally to me because I'm good at things. And even if it's hard for some people, it should be easy for me. Like that's the idea that really, really, really did not work with my manifestation journey. That was the main thing that I was fighting against. And on top of that, I had a habit of avoiding things that I quote unquote couldn't figure out. I had a habit of dropping things and letting them go as soon as it got hard because I just believed that they should be easy. And if it wasn't easy, then again, maybe it wasn't for me. To go back to like the thoughts I was telling you earlier of maybe it's not meant for me. A lot of what my brain was doing was like, I can't figure this out. This is too hard. I'm just going to stop. And I had that habit. That habit was very ingrained in me. Sometimes when I teach this class, I tell the story that a lot of the people in my family are very crafty, sewing, quilting. Like my grandmother made all of my mother's clothes and even her wedding gown. Like there are some very talented like crafts people in my family. My sister is very good at that. That is not my thing. I am not good with a sewing machine. I am not good with making anything, not because I haven't tried, but just I haven't invested the time and effort to becoming good at it. And when I was a kid, I was in a Girl Scout troop and we were making like hats and scarves in the winter. And it was so hard for me and I was so frustrated that I literally quit the Girl Scouts. Like that was it. I stopped the whole Girl Scout journey because I didn't like the discomfort of the hat was too hard for me to make. My hat wasn't coming out good. I was very uncomfortable. I didn't like it. Seemed like it was easier for the other kids and it was hard for me. So I just quit. And that was kind of my MO was like if this gets hard and it seems like other people can do it but I'm struggling, then I'm just going to quit. And I had to really work on myself in order to override that habit that had been in me since I was literally a child and to become a version of me who shows up differently and who stays the course is like not only one of the things I'm the most proud of, but it's really the reason why I teach manifestation the way that I do is because no matter how deeply ingrained this pattern has been, I know that it can be solved. And I really do know that the stuff I'm sharing with you today is what is going to help you solve it. Okay. So my mind told me all the things. My mind told me every single thing that I have shared with you. These are not random thoughts that I picked up off the street or that I read in a textbook. Like this was my life. And the more I speak with clients and the more I do this work and I've helped people on their path, I'm noticing that these are just the thoughts that the mind gives. And we all may have different paths, we all may have been on different journeys, but for some reason, our minds all end up in this same place. And so that's why we're going to address these things through this class. Okay, so if I had to boil it all down, what was going on with me was I really was telling myself I'm used to being good at things, and I absolutely hate how bad it feels to quote unquote be bad at manifesting. I hate how bad it feels when manifestation isn't easy. I hated that feeling. And so that is the feeling that kind of coincided with all these thoughts of maybe I just don't get to have it. Why is it taking so long? Up and down, hope and disappointment, like all of that, the underlying thing was I should be better at this. What's wrong with me? Like there was just a deep sense of like something is not right and I don't like this. And it made me want to quit. And I actually have a podcast episode on my podcast. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm the host of the U 2.0 podcast on Apple and Spotify. And I believe episode 3 is called I Almost Gave Up on Manifestation. But if you type in, I almost gave up on manifestation and my name, it will come up. And that's where I tell more deeply the story of like, I this exact issue almost derailed my whole manifestation process and stopped me from helping all the people who I know I can help now because I was in this place of like, if I'm not good at it, I should just quit. And so I want to just say and underline, if you take nothing else away, let's heal this. Let's fix this today. And let's let this be the new, yes, exactly. Let's let this be the new place that we create from is like I can do it even if it's challenging. I can figure it out. I'm willing to figure it out. And one thing coming through me too is like you deserve it. You are worth the journey that it's going to take. You are worth the effort. You put so much effort into things and maybe some of it has mattered to you, but maybe some of it hasn't. That's something I coach my clients on too. Like we all in some way or another have put so much effort into things that didn't even matter to us, maybe because they mattered to other people or because we thought we needed to, but we deserve that same level of effort and devotion. And as soon as we can just start to see things differently and relate to ourselves and our lives in a different way, that's when we will start to really see the manifestation journey pay off and create the life that we know we deserve. So I'm going off slides a lot today, but I think these are just things that needed to come through me. And that's why I like teaching this class every couple of months, because even though the slides are the same, what I say is different every time because it's just whatever message is like aligned and right for this moment. So with these 4 mindsets, the work I have done to really like move them and transform them has allowed me to manifest this coaching business that I love, that lights me up each day. It has also allowed me to heal and reconcile with my family after pretty much 18 years, 19 years of trauma and like abuse and just really hard dynamics that we were in. And this is definitely intergenerational. Like my family in and of itself is very complicated. And I had therapists telling me that I just wasn't ever going to have a relationship with certain members of my family. And basically that like it just wasn't a thing or that it wouldn't happen. And so I spent a lot of my early 20s just believing that I couldn't have a good relationship with my family and kind of giving up on that ideal or seeing it as something that I just didn't get to have. Again, going back to that mindset of like maybe it's just not meant for me. But through manifestation, I have been able to really create a loving and healthy dynamic with every single member of my family. And it's one of those things where it did take work. It took years of being willing to believe in something that a lot of people told me was not possible for me, but it has paid off like 1,000-fold because now I'm actually living in the situation that I always wanted to live in with them. So that is what's possible. And that is something that I want you to hold on to as it's also possible for you if you have any relationships in your life that do not meet what you believe you deserve or that do not feel as harmonious as you want them to be, know that you can reconcile them, and manifestation can be a tool that helps you do that. And actually, I'm thinking of one of my clients who, um, they, I believe this client takes they do the journal practice that I'm going to give you tomorrow. They do that every day, and it has been shifting things in their relationship with their family too. So this is powerful work, and it works on even things that feel like they're never going to change. So with all that being said, the other example that I wanted to give you was that I have really created a much healthier relationship with my body, in part due to having PTSD and having gone through a lot of trauma. I was very dissociated. I did not have a good relationship with my body. I numbed out with food and substances and just was depressed and neglected myself a lot. And as I've done this work and as I've really held the vision and believed that I could have a healthier relationship with my body, I have changed my relationship with food. I have changed my relationship with substances and with moving my body and with even like being hydrated and just taking better care of myself. And the byproduct of that is losing 25 pounds. But like the bigger thing, regardless of the number, is that I I love this vessel that I am in, and I take good care of it from a place of devotion and love, and it doesn't feel like a chore, which is kind of how it had felt when I was in this unhealthy relationship. But again, manifestation is like my core tool for changing anything in my life that is not living up to my vision, anything in my life that feels like less than what I deserve. And so that is really the foundation. That's the work. And as you apply this work in different areas, you will start to see these shifts happen for yourself too. Okay, so I'm gonna drink some water. And now we're going to talk about how to kind of untangle this, like how to shift these things. As I said, I am not just here to point out problems, but I'm here to really give you solutions. So if we're looking at this idea that it's harder than it should be, or it should be easier than this, we want to name it. Manifestation is portrayed as if it's easy and effortless. And for those people who are on social media saying it's easy and effortless, we want to remember, first of all, if we just assume best intentions, right? Like I'm not here to assume ill of people. So if we assume best intentions of these people, it was likely hard for them like 5 years ago, and now it's easy and effortless because they've been doing it for 5 years, right? Like, or 10 or whatever it may be. But like anything that's easy for someone, it was hard for them at some point. And I want you to really open your mind to this because even with school, when I said it was always so easy and I was always getting all these good grades, I actually did work very, very hard, but I did not even give myself credit for the fact that I was working so hard because the dynamic I was in was just like, well, this is what I should do. But part of my healing journey has been going back and seeing like it wasn't just magically easy for me. Like I did it, it was work. And that's true for anything, whether it's the grades, whether it's relationships, whether it's things in your career. Like you built it, you did it, you showed up every day. Nothing just happens. And so notice the stories you're telling. Notice if you are believing that you just naturally have, and I'm not saying that you don't have skills or talents or like you don't have qualities about you. Like I remember when I was in school, one of my teachers told me like, "Oh, Samara, you have such a beautiful voice and you could be on the radio," right? And I always think about that because now with my career, I do so much speaking and I have a podcast and I make these videos and everything. And so that's something about me that, helps, but I still had to cultivate the skill. Even with that, I have this voice, but I have had to make hundreds, if not thousands, of videos and record all these podcast episodes. And like, I had to show up and do it. So there's like the raw talent that you likely do have, but then you had to cultivate it into something that could ultimately be a manifestation. You had to cultivate it and put it to use so that you could achieve your goals. So just again, like notice the stories you're telling yourself, notice the way that you are relating to yourself. If you find yourself in a space where you're like, this is hard and it shouldn't be hard and it should be naturally easy, remember that the idea that something is naturally easy is usually a myth. And sometimes we kind of like to think that things are naturally easy because it helps us get our foot in the door. Like if you tell yourself this is going to be the hardest thing of my entire life, then you might get intimidated and quit. So I do think from a marketing perspective, a lot of manifestation coaches portray the easy and effortless because people wrap their mind around that and people are like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's easy. I bet I could do it." It helps people believe in themselves. So again, assuming best of intentions, but we want to remember that like things are portrayed as easy for a strategic reason some of the times. So if you're noticing that it's hard, there's likely nothing wrong with you. And it's okay that it's hard right now because it's not going to be hard forever. So normalize that manifestation requires effort and then connect to why you're doing this. So, as I was saying earlier, you deserve it. You are worth the journey. You've done really hard things that maybe were not as meaningful to you. And so it I'm just going to say what's coming through and we can kind of work with it if it needs to be rephrased, but what's coming through is like the least you can do is give yourself the same amount of effort and energy that you have given to other people and to other things, and you want to make sure that you hold yourself in high value and that you are connected to the reasons why you want the life that you want and that you are invested in creating it because you want it and that you wanting it is enough. And so cultivate a why, sit with it. Why do I want this amount of money? Whenever manifesting money has been hard for me, it's because I didn't have a strong why. And it doesn't have to be the perfect why, but even to just say, like, because I want to go on a trip or because I want to put X amount in savings so that I can create more financial opportunities for my future self, or because I want to pay this thing off, or because I want a new outfit. Like having a reason why will pull you through when it's hard because it will remind you that this isn't just like work for the sake of work or challenge for the sake of challenge, but you're strengthening yourself so that you can have the life that you want. So that's kind of my reframe there for mindset number one. If your mind is telling yourself that it's harder than it should be, then these are all some things that you want to consider and to spend some time really contemplating. And you can journal on any of these things, but just remember that like we want to bring our mind out of that place and into this new place. And connecting to your why is a very good exercise for doing that. Okay, so why manifestation? Why are you doing this? Why does manifestation matter to you? So, for me, manifestation has been a tangible pathway to help me transcend what society told me was possible. So, going back to the family example, society, and I love therapists. I'm not saying anything bad about therapists. I think that's clear, but just to make sure, um, therapists were saying you can never have a healthy relationship with your family. It's probably just not going to happen. You should probably just not speak to them anymore because you can't. And I had to transcend that. But I had to go through a process. It wasn't like I just overrode advice, like medical advice. Like I'm not saying override medical advice. But what I'm saying is hold the vision for what you want and do not believe anyone who tells you that you can't have it. There has to be a workaround. That's something that I was talking about with a client too. Like, if it looks like you can't have it for whatever reason, there has to be a workaround. There has to be a loophole. There has to be something that we haven't considered. We just need the right idea. We just need the right little piece of information. Like, there's something missing here. If it doesn't look like it's possible, if it doesn't look like you can have it, that is an opportunity to get curious and just say, like, what am I missing about this? Because I know it's not true that I don't get to have it. So what am I missing? And for me, manifestation has helped me with that tremendously to go from, oh, looks like the door is closed in my face to what else is possible? What else is possible? So that's part of why manifestation matters to me. That's part of what it has done for me. It has also been a way for me to cultivate agency and personal power in a culture that encourages pretty much the opposite. In a culture that says give your power away to institutions, the government, give your power away to people who don't have your best interests at heart. Like the way that people of various identities, queer people, people of color, femmes, whoever it might be, are pretty much taught that we don't have power. People, struggling with financial insecurity, like all kinds of things. The way that we are disconnected from our power, it is systemic, and we are taught that we don't have power. And so it is our job. And part of what I call at this point, it's a blessing because I'm so happy that I know how to do this and that I can help other people. But it is part of our work to cultivate our own power and our own agency when the world is not set up to give it to us. And manifestation has really, really helped me with that. So that's part of why manifestation is important to me. And then the final thing I'll say is like, manifestation has helped me work directly with spirit, God, the universe, the divine, to bring my vision to life. It has deepened my spiritual practice. It has made my spiritual practice more tangible. I have struggled a lot with spirituality over the years, and I'm not going to go so deep into it because we are already like so far along in this training. We've already been here for an hour. But I really have struggled with my spirituality, and manifestation feels like a way for me to connect and relate to God and to the divine on a daily basis about the things that mean the most to me. And it really has allowed me to see the hand of God and to see the universe working in my life. So, things to consider. But what I really want you to do is to ask yourself this question and to ask yourself, why does manifestation matter to me? Why am I on this journey? And give yourself time with it, but really cultivate that strong why for yourself. And if anything that I said inspires you, you can totally use that as a jumping off point for your own reflections as well. Okay, so when manifesting feels inevitably hard, make sure that you connect back into your why. Okay, mindset number 2 is that it's taking so long. So it's very common for people to put deadlines on their manifestations. As I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do it too. We all kind of do it. Even if we don't say it out loud, we have it in our hearts, like how long we think something should take or will take. And this can be fun, especially for a small thing where it's like, oh, I want to manifest a cup of coffee by the end of the week. Like someone's going to buy me coffee, or I'm going to get a free coffee or a coupon or something by the end of the week. But for the bigger things, it can spin you out a little bit. It can feel like, oh my God, I'm under pressure. If this doesn't happen, then I'm not going to be okay. And the way that your mind relates to the time frame often depends on how quote unquote big the manifestation feels to you. If it feels already like it's a huge deal and then you put a time frame on it, it will feel even worse. And so the trick is, how do we relate to the time frame in a healthy way? Because as I said, we set time frames whether we acknowledge them or not. Subconsciously, they just happen. We have these expectations and these gauges, but what do we do so that we don't feel like we're under so much pressure about it? So what I want to say is, even if you have a time frame in mind, you want to focus on releasing the urgency around the manifestation. So a deadline, there's nothing wrong with, but when you're telling yourself, I need this by Friday or else, the or else is the problem. The or else is what we need to fix. And again, I go much deeper into this in Moody and Magnetic, where we really talk about like, how does this look for you specifically? But the thing I want you to notice is, if you're telling yourself, I need this by Friday or else, we want to really have a lot of love for and compassion for the or else. And that is what we want to focus on letting go. And the way that we let go of the or else is that we romanticize and love and appreciate our current life at the deepest level. Because the or else is usually coming from a sense of, this isn't good enough right now. I'm not okay right now. My life right now is not what I want. And so because I don't like my life right now, I need my manifestation by Friday or else. And so if you undo that, if you say, actually, I love my life. I don't have everything I want, but I'm grateful for what I do have. And I'm proud of the journey I went on to get what I do have. And what I said to one of my clients recently was like, just this idea of, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm also not where I used to be. And I'm proud of how far I've come. Like, that's really the vibe that we want to get into. And part of that is just romanticizing your day to day. How can you make each day more enjoyable, more fun? And it can be little things: play music, go outside, you know, carve out time to read your favorite book, even if it's 15 minutes. Like, do something for yourself each day And remember that your life is really beautiful as it is, and be grateful for it. And as you play with that and cultivate that and do that more and more, you are going to release the pressure around your manifestations. And that is what will create the space for your manifestation to come through. I also want you to say, or to keep in mind, that your manifestation is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to solve your emotional problems. Definitely not. It will likely, create some type of better circumstance for you. So I'm not saying there's no point, but what I am saying is you will have good days and bad days, even when you are in your desired relationship, at your desired income level, even when you've hit all your goals. You will have a bad day sometimes. Manifestation is not to protect ourselves from our emotions. And so remember that the manifestation, it's important, it matters, but it doesn't need to be treated as this like savior that will come in and fix you. You are great on your own. You already have so much available to you. And if you are having a hard time emotionally, try to separate out the emotions from the facts. So like maybe you really are like super lonely and you feel isolated, and you know that it would be better if you had more connection in your life. That is a fact. But the emotion might be nobody loves me, I'm not lovable, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me. The emotion can be dealt with and treated even now today while you are still in the process of manifesting the connections that you want. And so that's an example, but the fact might be I wish I had more money. I wish I had more time. I wish I had more connection. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. That might be a fact. Having more of this would help me. But the emotional story around it, which is typically something you believe about yourself, is something that you can start to work on from right where you are. And that work is going to pay back 1,000-fold, even as you're in the process of creating the circumstances that you want to live in. So that will also help you not feel so urgent and so much pressure on your manifestations, because oftentimes we put the pressure on the manifestation when we see the manifestation as an emotional savior, if you will. And then finally, focus on who you will become through the process. So along the way, you are going to have wins, you are going to be excited, you are going to accomplish things that you've never thought you could. And even though you might not be fully at the manifestation yet, like becoming this new person, becoming the version of you who goes for it, becoming the version of you who figures it out instead of quitting, like with me, right? Becoming the version of you who puts yourself out there. You're going to become someone new, and that can be exciting in and of itself. And that can also help you release the urgency of like just needing to get to the finish line right away. Okay. So to summarize this section, just really find a way to love your life, embrace, enjoy, and romanticize the life that you have while you are in the process of creating the life that you want. And if you ever feel a ton of pressure about your manifestations, it's likely because you need to pour more into enjoying and really soaking up the joy in your current life. Okay, so let's talk about this piece of it keeps almost happening. So I might rephrase this because I feel like there's probably a better way to put it, but just that cycle of hope, disappointment, hope, disappointment. It looked like it was going to happen and then it didn't happen. And it feels like you're up and down, up and down. And so this is incredibly frustrating. It is a journey. It is a roller coaster. It is not fun. For example, maybe a potential client seemed really interested, but then they didn't sign up. Or maybe you keep going on really great dates, but it never actually clicks and you haven't found your partner yet, or whatever it might be. When it looks like you are at the end of the journey and you're about to break through, what can sometimes happen is that we take our foot off the gas because it looks like, oh, well, it's already a done deal. I don't have to keep going. We kind of start to take it for granted. And so I am not saying this to blame anybody because this is something that I myself have done, but it's just something to be aware of. Like when it looks like everything's about to come together, do you subtly take your foot off the gas? So for example, if it looks like, ooh, this client is in my inbox and they're going to sign up, do you I don't think I need to post today because this person's probably going to sign up and then my launch is going to be great. And so I don't need to send that email. Do you start to take it for granted, or do you show up through the finish line and you remind yourself it's not over till it's over, which is pretty much what I want to invite you into. So the key is to not let yourself believe that it's going to happen in one way or another. So even if it's like, for example, with the client thing, because I know a lot of people that watch this are entrepreneurs, have businesses. If a client is like, I'm going to sign up tomorrow and I'm so excited and I'm signing up, do not get attached to that person. Do not get attached to that person until the payment has gone through. Do not get attached. If you get attached to that one person, you will stop planting seeds. You will stop showing up as powerfully. You will stop doing what you need to do in order to actually be a match for that manifestation. And so release the how. And for the sake of today, I'll just say let go of the idea that it needs to happen one specific way, but you need to really just be in the space of it's not over till it's over. I am still on the journey. I'm still in the void until the manifestation has literally come into my life, until I can hold it and see it and taste it and smell it. I'm still on the path. I'm still on the journey. Everything that happens until your manifestation has literally manifested, everything that happens is still part of the void. And the void is here to shape you. The void is here to strengthen you. The void is here to help you become that version of you who can have and hold the manifestation. And so if you think about it with dating, okay, you're going on some great dates, things look really promising. And then maybe all of a sudden you slip up in your communication, you stop showing up as intentionally. Maybe you start taking the person for granted. You don't do the little things anymore. You don't go out of your way to express how you feel or to make that person feel special because for one reason or another you started to take the relationship for granted. And that can ultimately put you in a place where now you're disappointed because what looked like it was working really well hasn't worked anymore. But it's just because you took your foot off the gas. You can put your foot back on the gas and get things going back how they were, but it's about noticing like, did I start to take this for granted? Or am I still in this the way that I was in it when it didn't look like it was a sure thing? Because when you start to tell yourself it's a sure thing, then that's when you take your foot off the gas. So, really just remember that you are continually becoming a new version of yourself, and every level, every new stage of your life is going to require a new version of you. So, as you commit to your journey of personal growth, you will ultimately see your manifestations come to fruition, but they're not coming to fruition because you like coasted into them. They're coming to fruition because you have continued to hold, I'm going to say hold the energy, but I'm trying to figure out a better, like a more practical way to say that. You have continued to keep your foot on the gas. You've continued to show up in the way that you were showing up before, because the way that you were showing up before is what got you to this point. So keep showing up that way until the manifestation has fully come to fruition. Okay. So the action step here is that notice if you've started to take these things for granted and ask yourself how you would act differently if it wasn't finished yet, or if it wasn't, again, like if you start treating it like it's a done deal and if you start taking it for granted, just ask yourself, how would I be acting differently if I wasn't taking this thing for granted? And then just go back to doing those things. Okay. And then finally, maybe it's not meant for me. So this is how our mind tries to protect us. Especially for high achievers, when something doesn't come easily, we quit it because our identity is tied up in I'm good at everything or I'm good at this thing. I'm supposed to be good at this. And if we don't feel like we're good at it, we feel like we're having an identity crisis, and our mind just wants to protect us from the identity crisis. So it starts to talk you out of wanting the things that you want. And so it's very common to think that if something is meant for you, it should just be natural. So this idea of, if it's meant to be, it will be. Which, again, that idea is nuanced, but the thing I wanted to take away here is like, it could be meant to be, but you still have to do your part in creating it. It's not like if it's meant to be, it will fall from the sky and I will never have to do anything to create or maintain it. It's like if it's meant to be, I am invested in having it be. And so there's so much more to say on this, but what I will just say is like, there's this sense of like a natural alignment. Like I wrote, tall people are meant to be swimmers, not gymnasts, because one of my cousins is super, super tall. I'm 5'1". One of my cousins is like 5'10". And when she was a kid, she was in gymnastics. Like her parents put her in gymnastics. And then as soon as she started getting her growth spurts, they took her out and they put her on a swim team because they were like, we've never seen a short gymnast. And we kind of imagine manifestations the same way. Like, oh, well, if this is a perfect fit for me, then it should just be natural. And if it's not natural, then, let's go do something else. And so while that might be a strategy for sports, and I am not an athlete, but while that might be a strategy for sports, this is your life. This is your life. And so what is meant for you is not always going to be automatic for you. Even with my cousin, like they put her on a swim team. She did not end up clicking with swimming, but she is now a D1 athlete. She's in college. She's a D1 athlete in volleyball, which is another sport for tall people. But she didn't become a D1 athlete just because she's tall. She became a D1 athlete because she worked her butt off for years on various teams, traveling and like going to all these clinics and practices and training so hard. And that is what actually allowed her to be a D1 athlete and to get a scholarship for college and to be in the place that she's in today. Her being tall was not the thing that meant she was meant to excel athletically. It was her using the natural thing that was true about her. She's tall, but cultivating that into something that was ultimately a manifestation for her and for our family, right? Because she gets to go to college for free, and that makes a huge difference on all of us. So it being meant for you does not mean there's no work involved. It does not mean that it's automatic. If you want it, it's meant for you. But you will always have to do some degree of work in order to make it happen. And I just want us to continue to normalize that today. And then finally, I just want to talk to you about the fact that it's meant for a version of you. So your desires are meant for you. If you want it, it's meant for you. Just play with that one and let that one sink in. It might be hard at first, but if you want it, it's meant for you. But it's meant for a version of you who has developed certain qualities, skills, and capacities. So, as I said, manifestation is a skill. All things are skills. Making money is a skill. Um, having a healthy partnership that lasts for decades and decades, that's a skill. Like there are skills involved in having a high quality life. And I always use driving as an example. Like I said, I didn't pass my driving test the first time. Honestly, I just don't think I was in the emotional place. Like I was just so nervous and I was not ready. But I was always meant to at some point get my license. I just wasn't that version of me yet. I had to grow in certain ways. I had to change. I had to become a new version of myself, and then I was ready to drive. But if I had been behind the wheel before I was ready, that would have ultimately done more harm than good. That would have been dangerous. And so I want you to also just use this as an opportunity to trust your timing because, like, if something isn't happening in your life, it could be because you're not yet the version of you that can have that thing. But that doesn't mean you never will be. You just have to keep growing, keep evolving, keep changing, keep cultivating the qualities that you would need to have in order to really have that manifestation be a blessing rather than a burden. Like a lot of money in the hands of a person who doesn't know how to manage money is a burden. It's not a blessing. And when clients come to me and they're like, I want more money, but I don't want to have to deal with the taxes and I don't want to have to deal with figuring out how to invest, or I don't want to have to deal with this and that. Like what you're saying is that would be a burden. So anytime where it's like deep down, you're worried that it would be a burden for you, that just means that you have to grow. There's something in you that isn't yet cultivated, that isn't yet developed, and you are not letting the manifestation in because you are not yet the version of yourself who would really benefit from that. Like going back to driving right now, driving, a blessing, grateful for it. Back then, driving would have been a burden. It would have been very stressful. It could have potentially even been dangerous. I had to change so that the very same thing could come into my life and actually support me and serve me and be a good thing for me. And so this is true in all areas. You are meant to have a loving spouse if that's what you want. You are meant to have a beautiful home if that's what you want. You are meant to have a thriving business if that's what you want. You are meant to have anything that you want, but not until you are equipped for those things, not until you are ready. And a lot of people don't really want to hear this, and this isn't popular, but it's so true. And again, this is what I wish someone would have said to me, like, wanting it does not automatically qualify you for it. You have to go through that process of equipping yourself and learning and growing and becoming somebody new so that you can have new things and so that you can experience a new life. So be honest with yourself. What are the skills, qualities, and capacities that you need to cultivate before you are ready, before you're a match for your desires? So if it's a relationship, do you need to work on your patience? Do you need to work on your communication skills? Do you need to work on boundaries? If it's money, like, do you need to be more organized? Do you need to work on having that practice every week or every day where you sit with your money and you know your numbers and you intentionally allocate money in a way that works for you? Like, do you need marketing skills if you have a business and you're saying you want to have all these clients? Like, what are the skills you really need in order to create and have and like benefit from the life that you want? Because like I said, if you get it before you are ready, it will be a burden. And so this is about personal growth. This is about being willing to change so that your life can change. And it first starts with being honest with yourself about where you still have room to grow without making it mean that there's something wrong with you, but being willing to go on that journey because you deserve it and because you're worth it, because it matters to you. Okay, so that was what I had for you today. I am going to answer your question, Nika, in the chat. But before we get into that, I just want to say for anyone who's watching this who is not familiar with my group coaching program, Moody and Magnetic, this is where I do hands-on support on your manifestation journey. I work with you on a weekly basis, and you also get access to a ton of different courses. I have like over 23, 24 videos in there, all about different topics. Like I said, specifically, how do you do the manifestation in a time frame, in a healthy way? A lot of emotional healing in there. Like there's so much in there. It is very, very powerful stuff. My whole life's work, basically, I've been adding to this course since 2022. And I just keep adding and keep adding and keep adding. And what we are going to be adding next is a course called Manifestation for High Achievers. So I've never taught this information before, but it's really just going deep into what makes manifestation hard for high achievers and how we can fix that, how we can address it, what we need to do instead. And it's all my journey of going from being at the top of my game academically, going to a top university, like really believing that I was like just naturally gifted, which again, nothing wrong with acknowledging your natural talents, but like not giving myself credit and not feeling like, I could handle hard things, like how I went from that place to the place where I'm in now, where I know that I can achieve anything. I don't feel limited to, oh, it must be academic or I can't excel. I don't feel limited in any way because I know that I am a high achiever within myself and that I can bring that identity to everything I do. And so if I bring that identity to everything I do, then I can bring that identity to my manifestations. But it's about really learning how to bridge that gap between what you've experienced in terms of achievement and goals in the past and where you're trying to go in the future. So again, never taught this before. It is exclusive to the people in Moody and Magnetic. We're going to be starting, I have Monday, March 2nd. We're going to be starting the first week of March. Likely it will be March 2nd, but it will definitely be the first week of March. And you can schedule a consultation. This should be 2/26. Schedule a consultation by February 26th. If you are curious, if you want to learn whether or not it's a good fit, that is our space to really talk, get to know each other, and really just see if this is the right work for you and if I'm the right mentor for you. So you can take that really ugly URL and head over to it. And I will also be emailing out the link to the consultation calendar when I send out the replays. So you'll have it. But that is a really, really beautiful next step for anyone who is interested in working with me more deeply on this specifically, especially if you resonated with the high achievers piece. So we're going to do some Q&A with the little time that we have left. So I am going to go through. I'm so grateful that you're here. Okay. Okay. So the question that we're going to address is, how can I address my mindset around systemic and cultural scarcity? And so I asked you to elaborate. Now I'm going to the part where you elaborated. Okay, as a woman of color, how can I work through and break my generational trauma surrounding money? I grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees. Yes, so have I. That's so common. Money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, I'm glad you liked the picture of baby me. Okay, so how can I break through? How can I work through and break my generational trauma surrounding money? What worked for me, and this is a good question because there's like the answer that I'll give about what worked for me. Um, but there's also more, and there's something that I might even add into Moody and Magnetic. So actually, okay, I'm gonna make this a bonus in Moody and Magnetic because what I actually ended up doing in 2020, when I had really started to break through my own stuff, was I ended up running a program, and it was actually just me and some women of color who had signed up, and we really went deep into this. And if I still have those recordings, I will put them into Moody and Magnetic for you. And if not, then I'll just make sure that I teach on it more in general. But the biggest thing that really worked for me and that helped me a lot was being willing to honor and celebrate and be very proud of my family and of what it took for them to navigate the financial trauma that they were in. Like when I think about, like, for me, my mom was born in Virginia, my family's from the South. So there's this idea of like making do, right? Like this concept of we make do with what we have. We don't have, enough. We don't have everything, but how can we take what we have and stretch it and accomplish what we need to accomplish? Like earlier in today's call, I said my grandmother made all my mother's clothes. That's because they didn't have the money to go shopping, right? They had 4 kids and she made all of their clothes, even up till when my mom got married, right? Like I think they said she maybe bought like some clothes for my grandpa to go to work, but other than that, everything was handmade. And when I think about that story, I now see it as that was a level of creativity and resilience and resourcefulness that has been passed down to me. And I'm very grateful for it. And I see it showing up in all kinds of ways in my life. And I get to use those skills and be that person, even while I do have more money and more opportunity than the people who came before me. I get to take the lesson of like, how do you take something that looks like it's not enough and make it enough and do enough with it? And I think about that with time, you know? A lot of people live in a time scarcity, and I had to go through like, how am I going to use my time effectively? It looks like it's not enough, but what if it was enough? And how can I make it enough? Like, I am still that person. And I am always asking myself, how can I use those qualities and be the version of myself that I know my family raised me to be through modeling it with poverty and with not having enough. But I can take that and like carry the qualities of it while still creating more and more opportunities for myself. So some of it is like, what are the skills I got from that? Who did that teach me to be in a positive way? And like taking pride in the positive things that came from that and being willing to use those positive things in your life. But also what I would say too is forgiving your ancestors and those who came before you, because especially with people of color, like there just weren't that many opportunities. And they did the best with what they could. And a lot of the times it's like you have to play the cards that you're dealt in life. And if you're not dealt good cards, it's not your fault. But again, it's like going back to being proud of like they really did the best they could with what they had. And everyone's family story is different. And so I don't want to like project onto people. But I have gotten a lot out of reflecting on like, that's kind of what I'm doing too. That's what we're all doing. Like we all have cards in front of us. We all have opportunities and obstacles, and we're just navigating the difference. We're just doing our best with what we have in front of us. And it's no different. It's just that we are doing it in this time where there are systemically, some would say, more opportunities and there are more options, but we're still being who they raised us to be no matter how much money we end up having. Like it's not like the what do I want to say? It sometimes when people manifest a lot of money and when they change financial status, it can feel like you're departing away from your identity because your identity feels so connected to not having and to lack. And so I guess what I'm saying is your identity does not have to change just based on a number in an account. Their identity was not actually based on the number in the account, excuse me, the number in the account or, you know, the amount of money. Their identity was based on who they were in the situation that they found themselves in. And you still get to be who you are, no matter what situation you find yourself in. And so, if for whatever reason, even if it's subconscious, this idea of manifesting more money might feel like you have to like fundamentally change something about who you are, like, no, you don't. And that in and of itself is like a systemic failure of society is teaching people that like money comes along with an identity when really like we are the people that we are because of our character, because of how we treat others, because of the way that we move and show up in the world, and the amount of money we have has nothing to do with that. There's people who are horrible and awful and they have lots of money, and there's people who are amazing and wonderful and they have lots of money, and you can be whoever you authentically are and create the money that you're here to create. And then you can decide how to use it and what to do with it. But it comes back to like remembering you are who you are regardless of the amount of money that you have. So how does that bring up anything? I feel like I just kind of talked for a long time.
No, like that definitely explained everything.
Ah,
Thank you for answering that. It makes a lot of sense.
I'm very glad to hear that. I love this question. I'm so happy that you asked it. And again, it just reminds me that I want to be doing this work more and be talking and teaching on this more. So stay tuned because I will be talking about this a lot more. I'm so grateful that you asked.
Yes, thank you.
Mm. Okay. Well, that is our call. Looks like we're right on time. I am so grateful to each of you who's on replay. So grateful to you, Nika, for being here live. And I'll be back tomorrow, and I hope that you will too. Mm. Sending you love.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.